the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at something that seems really every day a signature, but as we'll unpack today, it's not always that straightforward.
Not at all.
Right.
And the source we're using today suggests it can actually get tangled up in some pretty complex legal territory, even, well, allegations of federal crime.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it, how something so basic connects to tech, law, high-level politics, which this article definitely explores. So our source for this deep dive is an article from American Thinker. It's titled President Autopen and the Crime of Forgery, and it's by Brian C. Jundeff.
And our goal today is, well, pretty focused. We're going to unpack the main points, the definitions it uses, some history, the legal angle it presents, and importantly, the specific claims and, frankly, serious allegations this particular article puts forward about signing presidential documents.
Exactly. We're strictly focused on understanding the information and the questions raised right here in this source. We'll walk through what it says, why it argues it matters, but we're not bringing in outside stuff or taking sides on the politics. It's all about what's in this article.
Right. And the article kicks things off by setting the stage. What is forgery, anyway?
Yeah, it gives a pretty clear definition. Essentially, signing someone else's name without getting their permission first, or just creating fake documents.
It offers some vivid examples, too. Forging a check, which is common, or other important papers. It even contrasts old paper driver's licenses with the modern plastic ones.
Yeah.
The ones with all the anti-fraud stuff built in.
Oh, right.
Or even forging, like a famous painting.
Yeah.
It's about making something false to deceive someone.
And the article tries to give context by summarizing the difference between state and federal forgery, using information it says it got from ChatGPT.
Interesting source attribution there.
Yeah.
But okay, so state-level forgery is apparently the most common type. Things like checks, personal documents, basic signatures. It's usually a felony if the document have, real legal or financial importance.
But it becomes a federal issue when it involves federal documents.
It's exactly. Passports, immigration papers, military IDs, or things directly involving the federal government, like U.S. currency, treasury checks, or if it crosses state lines, involves interstate commerce, or hits federal agencies like the IRS or Social Security.
Okay, that distinction seems important because the article then shifts focus to the Autopen, specifically used by a U.S. president, which would clearly involve federal documents.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to the Autopen part of the article's title. It defines it, referencing a Wikipedia summary it includes.
So what is an Autopen?
Well, basically, it's a signing machine, a device built for automatic signing.
And its purpose?
Pretty practical, really, for people who have to sign their name constantly, hundreds, maybe thousands of times. Think celebrities, high-level politicians. These machines replicate their signature quickly.
The article gives a couple of presidential examples. It mentions President Trump using one, but only for what it describes as very unimportant papers, like responding to letters from the public.
Okay. And it also mentions President Obama using an Autopen once. This was apparently to sign an extension of the Patriot Act while he was physically in France. The article notes the time pressure. The law was about to expire.
And the article highlights what it calls key words in these examples. Unimportant papers, and authorized. It seems to be setting something up there.
It does feel like foreshadowing, yeah. It uses these examples to then dive into the legal basis, as the article presents it, for a president using an Autopen at all. It points to a 2005 opinion from the DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel.
Right, the OLC opinion. And what's the article's takeaway from that opinion?
The core finding, as the article summarizes it, is that the president doesn't have to physically hold the pen. They can instruct or direct a subordinate to affix their signature, using an Autopen, for instance, but only after the president has personally decided to approve and sign that specific bill or document.
Okay, so the decision has to be made first by the president.
Exactly. And the article really emphasizes a distinction. It says the OLC opinion made crystal clear. The president cannot delegate the decision-making power itself. They can't just say, you figure out what to sign. They can only direct the mechanical act of signing after they've personally made the call.
That difference between directing the action and delegating the decision, that sounds like it's going to be pretty central to where the article goes next.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Because this is precisely where the article pivots and starts applying these ideas to specific and quite serious allegations it raises concerning President Biden and his administration's use of an Autopen.
Okay, what are the claims?
Well, it cites the Heritage Foundation for a pretty sweeping claim, alleging that Biden's name was signed using an Autopen on nearly every executive order and official document during his 4-year tenure. Nearly every one.
Wow, okay. That's a big claim.
It is. And linking back to that DOJ opinion, the article then asks some pointed questions. Did President Biden delegate the actual decision to approve these documents? Or did he personally decide on each one and merely direct the use of the machine afterwards? And, it asks why he supposedly couldn't sign them himself.
And it draws a contrast with President Trump.
Yes, saying that Trump, according to the article, often signed many executive orders very publicly, with cameras rolling.
So the article is suggesting a difference in practice.
And then it starts speculating about why President Biden might not have signed documents personally. It links this directly to alleged health issues mentioned in the article specifically. It mentions alleged cognitive decline and something called prostate cancer chemo brain.
And the article questions if these alleged conditions could have affected his ability to even understand what he was directing, assuming he was directing it.
Right. That's the implication raised. And it goes further, making allegations about who might have actually been involved in either directing or operating the Autopen.
What does it name?
It uses the phrase unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats. Specifically, it names 3 key White House aides, Annie Tomasini, Anthony Bernal, and Ashley Williams, alleging they ran interference. The article explicitly asks if they were the ones operating the Autopen.
And it brings in claims from others, too.
It does. It attributes a claim to David Sachs, alleging he said Elizabeth Warren controlled the Autopen. And it cites David Hogg as reportedly admitting Anthony Bernal was, quote, running the Biden White House.
So lots of speculation and attributed claims there.
Yes. And based on that, the article raises more speculative questions, like, was Bernal acting for Dr. Jill Biden? Or it even asks, could Hunter Biden have used the Autopen for his own pardon? These are presented as questions within the article, based on the preceding claims.
Okay, so building on all that, the article then moves towards discussing potential crimes and investigations.
It does. It includes a really serious allegation it attributes to Representative Tim Burchett. The article claims Burchett said Biden's Autopen staff might have actually accepted bribes in return for getting pardons signed via Autopen.
Wow, okay. Bribes for pardons, that's significant.
Highly significant. And the article also reports that an investigation is supposedly underway. It says Representative James Comer and the House Oversight Committee are looking into this, interviewing Biden's alleged handlers, and asking, basically, who really made the decisions, who authorized these signatures.
And the article's conclusion on this point.
Its bottom line seems to be that if these handlers, as it calls them, signed federal documents without the proper authorization from the president himself, then that is forgery under federal law. And it explicitly calls for Attorney General Pam Bondi, presumably in a future Trump administration context, given the source to investigate.
So let's talk implications. If, hypothetically, these allegations presented in the article turned out to be true, what would that mean for the documents themselves? Does the article address their validity?
It does. It makes the general legal claim that if a contract is signed fraudulently, it's essentially null and void, no legal standing. And it specifically focuses this on presidential pardons. It notes that pardons are considered legal deeds, and like any deed, they generally need to be accepted by the recipient to be valid.
So what questions does it raise about the pardons specifically?
Well, it asks, was President Biden even aware the Autopen was being used for these pardons? Did he personally authorize and approve each one? It suggests there should be proof, like contemporaneous communications, confirming his authorization for each specific instance.
And it connects this back to the alleged health issues again.
Yes, questioning whether he was potentially unable to provide that authorization because of the cognitive or health issues the article alleges.
Does the article mention anything about record keeping for these things?
It briefly notes that presidential signatures and actions are usually logged and time-stamped, implying this should be verifiable information.
Okay. And then there's a specific statement from Donald Trump mentioned.
Yes. The article includes a quote it attributes to Trump from his Truth Social platform. In it, Trump declares that pardons given by Sleepy Joe Biden to people involved with the Unselect Committee, referring to the January 6th committee, and many others, are void, vacant, and of no further force or effect.
And Trump's reasoning, according to the article?
The article states Trump's reasoning is the claim that these pardons were done using an Autopen, and crucially, that Biden neither signed them himself nor was even aware they were being issued.
So tying the Autopen use directly to invalidity.
Exactly. And the article concludes by citing a quote it attributes to CNN's Jake Tapper. It claims Tapper admitted that the Democrats' cover-up of Biden's cognitive decline may be worse than Watergate. And the very last line of the article is, let the investigations begin.
Okay. So just to reiterate for everyone listening, these are the specific claims, the allegations, the questions, all presented within this one particular article we've been discussing from American Thinker.
Our purpose here was just to understand and lay out the points this specific source makes, presenting its narrative neutrally.
Right. So we've traced the article's path, starting with forgery basics, introducing the Autopen, outlining the legal framework it presents for presidential use, and then really diving deep into the specific, serious allegations and questions this article raises about the Biden administration's practices.
And the potential consequences it discusses, like the validity of documents and even potential criminal activity.
We really focused only on unpacking the arguments within this source, its definitions, its interpretation of the legal opinion, the distinction it makes between delegation and direction, who it alleges might have been involved, and the potential legal outcomes it sketches out. So considering that distinction, the article really leans on directing a signature versus delegating the decision and all the questions it raises about who is authorizing documents and why. What does delving into this particular article make you, the listener, think about? Maybe about executive authority, accountability, or even just the importance of verifying claims like these. What stands out most to you from this deep dive today?
In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the